Hello, everybody, and here we go with meiosis and sexual reproduction. So as we know, there are two types of reproduction. There's sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And some organisms are very successful reproducing with asexual methods. These organisms are usually very simple. We have a lot of unicellular organisms, lower eukaryotes, and the like. And asexual reproduction, as you recall, produces genetically identical offspring. So this is reproduction using mitosis or some variation thereof, fission, blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, sexual reproduction mixes things up a bit. So sexual reproduction shuffles genes to produce genetically unique offspring, okay? And we're going to say two words now. These two words are going to be your new best friend, genetic, genetic, variability, or genetic variation, okay? Genetic variation is the reason for sexual reproduction. And this is how organisms can and do evolve, is by producing genetic variation. You hear about organisms that are going to like the brink of extinction. There's just 2 California condors left, but it's not easy to bring them back because there are not a lot of genes in the gene pool. And when we talk about evolution, we'll talk much more about this. But you need to have variability. You need to have variation in a gene pool in order for organisms to be successful. So, muy importante, genetic variation. So sexual reproduction combines useful genetically determined traits and helps to make genetic variation, genetic variability. Other ways you get genetic variability is by mutation, but overall mutation rates are low, so you really can't depend on it to produce genetic variation, okay? So we use sexual reproduction to produce our genetic variation, and this allows for much more rapid evolution of organisms. Okay, new combinations of alleles help to better adapt organisms to changing environments. The Earth is not a static place, and it changes all the time, and we have to change to adapt. And the more alleles, the more genes, the more variation we have in our gene pool, the easier it is to adapt. You have a bunch of different possibilities, and one could work to a new environmental condition. So let's look a little bit closer now at meiosis. So meiosis is the key to sexual reproduction. This is where all the magic happens, okay? So meiosis is a process by which we take a diploid cell, okay, and yields or produces a haploid daughter cell, okay? So diploid cell has 2 sets, 2N, or pairs of chromosomes. Haploid cells, again, have unpaired chromosomes, or N, one set of chromosome. All right? And how we go from diploid to haploid is via meiosis. Meiosis is a reduction division. It reduces the number of chromosomes. So in humans, we go from 2N, which is 46, down to 1N, which is 23. We're reducing the number of chromosomes, and it usually cuts it in half. Okay? These haploid cells are our gametes, and each gamete receives one member of the pair. So if I have my 2 copies of chromosome 1, one pair of the one of the homologs is going to go to one cell, the other homolog will go to the other cell. Okay? We're going to separate the homologs. Okay? So again, meiosis has 2 divisions, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So the first division, or meiosis 1, separates the homologs, as I just said. So this is our reduction. This is where we go from a diploid cell to a haploid cell in meiosis 1. Okay. In the second nuclear division, the chromatids of the homologs are separated. Okay. And you'll see this on the picture in a minute. So for meiosis 1, we're going to reduce the number of chromosomes. Okay. Separate the homologs, and but the homologs are still duplicated. So the homologs still have 2 chromatids. So meiosis 1 separates those chromatids, and we get 1 chromatid into each of 2 more daughter nuclei, and the result is 4 cells, not 2 cells like meiosis, like mitosis. I can't believe I just said that. All right. So end of meiosis, there are 4 haploid daughter cells. Okay, so we have 1 diploid cell in meiosis 1. We reduce that number to 2 haploid cells, but they still have 2 chromatids. So we're going to separate the sister chromatids in meiosis 2. Those are ends. And the result is 4 haploid cells. Okay, and these are my gametes. Okay, and what kind of gamete depends on what you are. If you're a girl, you get eggs. If you're a boy, you get sperm. Okay, oh, and there it is. Okay, this is much prettier than the drawing I just did. Okay, so see, this cell here has a pair of chromosomes. Here's my homologs. So it is diploid. It has 2 copies of each chromosome. You just have 1 chromosome. Meiosis 1 separates the homologs. So this chromosome is placed into that daughter cell, and this chromosome is placed into that daughter cell. Okay? So now my cells are haploid. I only have 1 copy of each chromosome, but it still has 2 chromatids. 1, 2, 1, 2. So meiosis 2 is the next step. Meiosis 2 is going to separate the chromatids. So just like mitosis. Ah! What just happened? Oh, weird. Ah, malfunction. How do I make it go away? That's not what I want to do. There we go. No. Can they go down? There we go. Oh, now I have a big red line. And I keep trying to make these shorter, and it's not working. Where was I? Okay. So meiosis 2 separates the chromatids from each other, just like mitosis. So this chromatid will go in that cell, and this chromatid will go in that cell. Same thing down here. Perfect. And then we end up with 4 haploid cells. Okay, so these cells are all N number of chromosomes. And here it is again. Okay, diploid parents, all right, undergo meiosis 1 and 2 to produce haploid gametes. And then those gametes fuse in a process called fertilization, right? So this is my egg, this is my sperm. Okay, and we have N plus N, and we're back up to our 2N for our diploid fertilized eggs. Okay, so we start with a diploid parent, undergo meiosis to produce haploid gametes. Then we get another organism by fusing 2 haploid gametes via fertilization and get our diploid fertilized egg. All right, so again, meiosis is a reduction division. The phases of meiosis have the same names as the phases of mitosis, but you have to put a 1 or a 2 after them to distinguish the 2 nuclear divisions. If you're talking about meiosis 1, you have prophase 1, prometaphase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. If you're talking about meiosis 2, you have prophase 2, prometaphase 2, etc., and so on. Okay. Chromosomes were, of course, replicated before meiosis 1. Okay, you have to replicate your DNA before you divide any cell, whether it's mitosis or meiosis. Okay, and so you'll have all duplicated chromosomes with 2 chromatids. Okay, they're joined at the centromere, same rules. Um, uh, and meiosis is again 2 divisions, but there is not another round of replication. Okay, so DNA replication occurs before meiosis begins. Okay, and then there are 2 rounds of nuclear divisions, and this is how we get the reduction in the chromosomes. Okay, and I think that is it. The end. Okay. Next, go and watch my 2 lovely screencasts on meiosis. They are titled Meiosis 1 and Meiosis 2. And that goes into more details of the 2 processes.